أبدأ بالحمد مصليا على محمد خير نبي أرسلا وذي من أقسام الحديث عدة وكل واحد أتى وحده أولها الصحيح وهو ما اتصل إسناده ولم يشذ أو يعل.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أعاذنا الله وإياكم من النار. أيها المؤمنون عباد الله. My dear respected brothers and sisters, it's narrated in the Sahih of Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala of an incident that happened at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this very day of Ashura. Reported by Rabi' bint Mu'awwidh radiyallahu anha, she said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the morning of Ashura, he sent out people to one of the villages in Al-Madinah, to the Ansar, and he said to them, whomsoever woke up this morning fasting, let him complete his fast. And whomsoever woke up and he did not fast, let him abstain from eating anything and fast the remaining part of the day. So she said, وَكُنَّا نَصُومُهُ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ. We used to fast this day after this announcement that we had from the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we used to make our children, وَكُنَّا نُصَوِّمُ صِبْيَانَنَا. We used to make our children to fast this day. We used to take them to the masajid and we used to play with them. When they used to cry out of the hunger and thirst, we used to give them lu'ab min al-'ihn. We used to give them toys and dolls to play with them, which were made out of cotton, to busy them in order for them to complete the fast of that day. This is something, my dear brothers, as we know that the fasting of the day of Ashura went through different stages. At the stage when it was wajib, it was a must for everyone to observe the fast. And then he went to a stage where the Prophet ﷺ, when Ramadan was obligated, then the Prophet ﷺ said, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whomsoever wants to fast, it is an option for them to fast. Whomsoever wants not to fast, they don't have to fast it. So the companions radiallahu anhum, they would observe this fast, and as we know from the hadith we've had in the previous maybe week or so of the virtues of this day. My dear respected brothers and sisters and parents, it is not mainly the day of Ashura that I want to speak to you tonight, today about. Rather, it's a story which is taken, or an ibrah which is taken from this hadith of Rabi' bint Mu'awwidh radiyallahu anha, that perhaps most of us will miss out a lot. We look at the benefits of Ashura and this is hasan, this is good, but there is a hidden message within this hadith that most of us are heedless of. She said, وَكُنَّا نُصَوِّمُ صِبْيَانَنَا. We used to make our children to fast. Our children, my dear brothers and sisters, it is a huge importance among the community of Islam, the community that we live in. Because as you can see, the hirs, the eagerness that this woman companion she had towards her children, how eager they were in terms of bringing them khair, in ordering them to do good, forbidding them from doing evil. We have started the summer season, the holidays. Our kids are with us in our homes. They have all of the time with us, to spend time with us, going out and doing all sorts of activities. For those of the parents who have already booked holidays to go away, perhaps to spend time with the children, these are things which are on our minds at this moment in time. And this is something which is known when it comes to summertime. My dear brothers and sisters, al-amr khatir. This affair is something which is very, very, very serious that most of us, we don't pay attention to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated upon the parents to take care of their children. Yawm al-Qiyamah, we're going to be asked about this responsibility that we have been given. Before you're even given the rights, before you're even asking your parent, your children how they looked after you, you're going to be asked about how you fulfill these rights upon these children. The Prophet Muhammad said in a hadith in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Ma'qad ibn Yasar radiyallahu anhu, he said, "Ma min abdin yastar'ihi Allahu ra'iyyah." There isn't a slave whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given responsibility, any type of responsibility, children, family, wife and husband. يسترعيه الله رعية يموت يوم يموت وهو غاش عن رعيته إلا حرم الله عليه الجنة. He dies the day when he dies, when he is betrayed, distrust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this responsibility that Allah has given him, except إلا حرم الله عليه الجنة, that Allah is going to make Jannah haram upon you. Jannah is going to be haram upon that individual because Allah entrusted you with something and you have betrayed the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How are you going to meet Yawm al-Qiyamah, your Lord? And you stand in front of him and he's going to ask you, what did you do with that which I gave you? And you betrayed it. Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to be a very difficult day for the parents. For those people who have responsibility, children are with them. One of the most distressing phone calls that a sheikh received, that I want to bring to your attention, my dear brothers, it was of a daughter, a young girl, who called the sheikh when there was a barnamij, when there was a telephone sort of time when the sheikh was being asked questions. She called in from her mobile phone and she said, "Ya sheikh, my father and my parents have given me everything in terms of the dunya, all of the gadgets, all of the things that I want, the cars, the nice things that I would want as a person, as a young child." So the sheikh, he said, "So, فَمَا الْمُشْكِلَةِ, what is the problem? What are you calling?" She said, "Sheikh, the problem is this, our parents, mana'ana. They deprived us of the eyesight, of the heart, and of the hearing." ماذا تقصد? What do you mean by this, oh sister? They deprived us of the hearing and the heart and the sight. They said they gave us all of these things, the beauty of this world. Rather, they did not give us the time. When was the last time, my dear brother and sister, your dear mother, you said to your child, "My child, I love you"? These are statements that don't come out from our parents, from our mouths. When was the last time you sat down with your child and you sat and you recited Quran with them? When was the last time you took him to the masjid? Not just on Jumu'ah, but throughout these holidays. Bring them to the masjid and say to him, "This is your barnamij, this is your program. We're going to the masjid to learn about the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." So she said, "Oh Sheikh, we were forced with all of these luxuries that we had with us in our homes. We were forced to look for these things that we were prevented, we were deprived of from our parents. We were forced to look for these things from other people. Going onto social media platforms, speaking to opposite gender, we were forced to find these in boys. And for the girls, for the boys, we were forced to find these in the girls outside." The social medias, ya ikhwan, hadith wa la haraj. You can speak about for the entire day. Within the four walls of our homes, we are being exposed. Your child, you think, alhamdulillah, he's at home, he's safe. You have deprived him of your sight, your heart. You have deprived them of your hearing. You don't sit down to listen to them. Rather, you think, let him have these social media apps, or let him have these gadgets, busy them. You're busy working, planning for the holiday. Some of us, We have taken time off to go on holiday, but the reality, this holiday is not for them. It's for you to go and see your family back home. You want to drag them with you, they don't really want to go with you. You want to take them and you think this is something to take to get them away. Wallahi, when you're even there, you don't even spend time with them. How many of us make these plans and say, you know, when I take my child to such and such a country, we're going to sit down and we're going to take to the masjid, enroll them to activities which are being conducted within these places. La, it's a time of enjoyment and luxury. That time that you spend working and leaving them in your homes, busying them with gadgets and toys, they do not benefit from that time, and even when you go away with them, they're not going to benefit from your time. A'udhu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's going to say Yawm al-Qiyamah, as He says in the Quran, وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. Stop them, yani the parents, those who are responsible. وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. They are going to be questioned on the day of judgment. مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنَاصَرُونَ. They're going to be asked, why do you not have anyone to support you on this day? Your child who you thought was a very close person to you, you gave them all of these luxury. مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْصَرُونَ. Where is he now to help you? بَلْ هُمُ الْيَوْمَ مُسْتَسْلِمُونَ. Rather, this day is a day where you're going to surrender. وَأَقْبَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. They will look, يَتَلَاوَمُونَ. They will look at each other and start blaming themselves. Why? يَا حَسْرَتَنَا. What a huge loss we have carried on our shoulders. What a huge loss we are carrying on our shoulders, subhanallah. My dear brothers and sisters, this affair is something which is very, very, very serious. But most of us, we have reduced it to just what? Just giving our children luxuries. Rather, your child is in need of your companionship. Look at what the noble companion Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, حافظوا على أولادكم الصلاة وعلموهم الخير. Hold your children, accustom them to performing the salawat. وعلموهم الخير. Teach them the good. Teach them, let them become accustomed to doing good. Subhanallah, how many of us, my dear brothers, you find someone standing outside of the masjid holding a bucket for charity, and you give your child £2 or £5 and say to him, my dear son, this is sadaqah, give it, put it in that box. Allimuhum al-khayr. He knows in his head that every time he comes to the masjid, it's a place where you give tunfiq fi sabilillah. He knows that every time when he wakes up in the morning, it's a time to perform the salatul fajr. All of these things, my dear brothers. And the noble companion, he said, فَإِنَّمَا الْخَيْرُ عَادَةٌ. Indeed, good, being accustomed to good is an aada, it's a habit. That you accustom your child, you accustom yourself to doing good, and he will carry on that legacy. He will carry on being in such a manner. But if the first thing he wakes up is gadgets, TV and so forth, this is what he's going to know. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my dear brothers, was the best of examples. At times, he would come with his grandchildren, Hassan and Hussein, he would pray the salah, and the children would go on his back. And he would take a long period in the sujood. The companions, one of them, he said, we stood up, fearing that the Prophet ﷺ had died in his sajda. And all we could see, it was a young child, his grandson, on his back, in the masjid, performing or being from those who observe the salawat. تعودوا الخير فإنما الخير عادة. We have to accustom our children to khayr and goodness, because goodness is a habit that a person accustoms himself to, and it becomes something which is part of him. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له تعظيما لشأنه وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الداعي إلى جنته ورضوانه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أحبتي في الله, My beloved brothers and sisters, the affair of us looking after our children and instilling in them the values of Islam, those people of the past whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave izzah and honor, all of them you can see al-khayru kulluhu fi shabab, all of the goodness, the khayr and the goodness is in the youthful age. When your children are still young, when they're still able to do certain things, when they still have the quwwah and the nashat and the ability, the energy to do something, accustom them to do these things. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks about the people of the past, that He says, Allah Azza wa Jal, that they were fata, they were young children, and then we guide them to the correct path. When a person is still young, my dear brothers, do not underestimate your understanding or the understanding of your young children. Do not think that he is still young, he doesn't understand. Rather, this is someone who observes and he sees everything that is going around him. This is an opportunity to instill within them all of the khayr that you want for them to be upon when they grow up. Most of the parents, they complain, my child, since the last summer holiday or this summer holiday, he changed into something else. I don't recognize them anymore. They become into something that we were not anticipating. Is this a surprise to you? If you've neglected this child and you have not given him that which is important for him, a lot of us, we concentrate much of the dunya aspects of things. As long as you see a smile on your child in terms of what you've given him, of the luxury, you think, alhamdulillah, I've done my job. This is not the responsibility that is required from us, my dear brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَلَا أَوْلَادُكُمْ بِالَّتِي تُقَرِّبُكُمْ عِنْدَنَا زُلْفَى إِلَّا مَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. Your children and your wealth is not what brings you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Rather, it is that which you have iman in, having iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also your righteous actions. فَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ جَزَاءُ الضِّعْفِ بِمَا عَمِلُوا. These are the ones who are going to have a multiplied reward with Allah Azza wa Jal. وَهُمْ فِي الْغُرُفَاتِ آمِنُونَ. And they will be reclining, they will be in palaces with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah. Ibadullah, my dear respected brothers and sisters, علينا أن نراجع أنفسنا. It's upon all of us, parents, and also the children, to revise and to realize that this world is only a fleeting time period. This summer, as you see, 6 weeks of summertime, it's a long period for a person who does not understand the reality of this world. But rather for a believer who knows that this world is something which is very, very short, it's only a blink of an eye. Why is it not something that is upon our, in our minds for a person before even your kids break off from holidays, you start to search of activities, avenues where you can take your child, for him to benefit, to be in a company, to be in an environment where he can learn his religion. This is what is going to help you Yawm al-Qiyamah. When you die and you leave these children behind you, they will make dua for you. They will remember you and say, my noble father, my noble mother, she always used to take us during the holiday season to learn the Quran. At the time it becomes difficult, they find discomfort in it. They don't want to go. But in the end, they will cherish and they will be very grateful for these sacrifices that you've given them. So my beloved brothers and sisters, do not to be deluded, do not be deceived to think that only the happiness in your child lies in the materialistic stuff that you give them. Rather, you have to instill within them the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what is وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتُ خَيْرٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ ثَوَابًا وَخَيْرٌ أَمَلًا. The baqiyat al-salihat, the righteous action that you leave behind, is that which is more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, better with your Lord Azza wa Jal. Al-baqiyat al-salihat, some of the scholars, they made tafsir of this ayah and said, these are the righteous children that you leave behind, who are going to make dua for you, who are going to ask Allah Azza wa Jal, give sadaqah, build a well, or do such and such. As for the rest of the people, they will forget about you. They will forget until after they put you down in that grave. They will say, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive fulan and fulan. And a week, a month, no one remembers you. But that person who used to be with you, your children, your family members, they will cherish this. And they will always remember you. So my dear brothers and sisters, it is upon all of us to read the siyar, the companions and those righteous people, their stories and how they were and how they dealt with the children. And my last message, my dear brothers, something to bear in mind, especially on this day of Ashura, as we mentioned, it's a day of fasting, a day which the Prophet ﷺ used to fast and the companions radiallahu anhum. Rather, a person who engages himself in acts of innovation which have no basis in the religion, such as hitting themselves, mutilating themselves, and cursing individuals from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and also dyeing their hair, moaning about the death of Hussein radiallahu anh. This is nothing from the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Rather, this was not something which the companions radiallahu anhum did. A lot of people have this understanding that a person who is generous to his family on this day of Ashura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He would suffice for them for the entire year. These are beliefs that we have amongst us Muslims. But these are beliefs, my dear brothers, that don't have any place in Islam. A person has to stay away from anything, as the Prophet ﷺ always used to remind the people in the khutbah on Friday, وَكُلُّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. Every bid'ah is a misguidance. وَكُلُّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ. And every misguidance is going to lead صَاحِبُهُ إِلَى النَّارِ. Is going to lead that person into the hellfire, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها زكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها مولاها. اللهم اهد شباب المسلمين، اللهم اهد شباب المسلمين، اللهم ردهم إلى دينهم ردا جميلا، اللهم ردهم إلى دينك ردا جميلا. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصل اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك، أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك، وأقم الصلاة.